what we can talk about next, our feature today is because I talked to these guys like the last 2 weeks we've been saying it's so hard for people to get into books, like what's going on. Is that a new fan? Talking about it's so hard to get into comics. How do you help new people? Is it the market really helping new people? Is Marvel helping new people? Is DC helping new people? Or comic book shops?
What do you mean by you people?
Helping new people, I said. Get into comics. Why aren't more people getting into comics from this movie? So we decided that today we would answer all your questions. Feel free. I thought about this. And I think I might release this as a separate video on YouTube. I'll cut out this part specifically. Share it a lot. Post it to somebody you want to get into comics and be like, hey, here's the little quick thing about the way you can get into comics. They're going to explain it for you. We're going to explain how it all works. So break out my little thing.
Pony? Poopy pants?
So what I did is there's some questions that I see a lot about people ask when they want to get into comics. We'll start with that first, and then at the end here we're going to give you some recommendations on where to start for superhero stuff, or if you just want to read comic books in general, other stuff that maybe you would be interested in. If you're not interested in the capes and cows.
I heard capes and cows.
Capes and cows.
Love me some bat cow.
Mm-hmm.
First question I hear a lot of times people ask, how do I get up to speed with ongoing series? Like, how do I know what is going on in comic books?
It's a fair question.
You read issue 1 and you catch up to where it's at. No, I'm kidding.
That's a lot of time people see Detective Comics 68?
Yeah.
968, and they're like, whoa, I got to read 968 comics? First, no.
Absolutely not.
No,
even I say no to that.
You don't have to. I would check. Here's the general rule. It doesn't happen all the time. General rule: superheroes, if it's Marvel, DC, just start reading that in arc. If it's something that's Image, maybe you have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Possibly. I would say, think about it this way: you're not going to try to get into like football and be like, do you have to go back to when football started and start watching it? No, just start when the season starts.
Start when the season. Agreed.
But if you're going to start like a lot of Image or like independent comics, if it's a contained story, Deadly Class, for instance, a lot of times it's kind of like, do I start Breaking Bad at season 6? No, go back to the beginning because that's a full contained story. You need the ramp up and all that stuff. I guess you could start Breaking Bad at season 6, but then you'd be like, what the fuck? You wouldn't.
That'd be the worst show ever.
There would be no impact to where he is now. And I think in that too, like a lot of those moments in Deadly Class 30 have no impact if you don't know the whole story. So start at an arc, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how you feed your collection is you go in there and you're like, oh, where did this part why doesn't this make sense? And the things that don't make sense, usually on a new arc, I mean, they'll explain it to you barely, but enough that you could be like, hey, maybe I can go back in the future and I'll read that.
That's the thing too.
Yeah.
If you get confused, don't get discouraged.
Just keep reading.
Hell, sometimes I get confused with what the hell they're talking about or what's going on. And I would have read that story and I would be like, okay, I don't remember that, but we'll go with it. So a lot of times, and I think we've talked about this before, me and Garrett, Wikipedia. Look it up.
Yeah,
so you can look
a lot of the history. I mean, it's out there. If you want to really know what the hell is going on, do some research, and the major plot points they'll cover.
If you're reading All-Star Batman and Alfred's talking about all this history and stuff again, you're like, oh, well, who is Alfred? Look up Alfred and read his history.
Yeah.
If you're really that interested in it. To be fair, though, like a lot of times, you don't really need to know. Like you said, there's enough clues so you'll get the story. You don't have to know every little thing that happens.
Right.
Well, and you bring up the Alfred scene. This story has just taken place now in the last 3 issues.
Yeah.
So we didn't know this stuff beforehand. You learned it in the book. It's part of the arc. Again, hop on the arc.
I feel like also a lot of people think that they need to know a lot about something before they start reading it. Like they need to know every single Batman thing so that when they read it, they're like, okay, I'm not going to get confused. No, just start reading.
Yeah, there's still
That's the
things
only
I
way
don't
it's
know
gonna
about
happen.
Batman. I've been reading comics for like 15 years now. Like you're never going to know everything 100% ever. You just need to enjoy what you do know about a character and further that knowledge, but you'll never 100% know every single thing.
So I'm thinking that a lot of people are probably asking, well, how do I know it's the beginning of an arc? So a lot of times, especially DC is really good about this. At the top of the books, it'll say what the arc is called. Find the one that is the first one or called Part 1. A lot of times you can go to either the websites directly, DC Comics, Marvel, and it'll tell you what the issue is about. Just find the one that's called Part 1 and start there.
And Marvel even helps you out better. They just renumber the whole series to number 1. So you know exactly
they do that, and that's a good thing too, but a lot of times
they're going to stop that now with Legacy.
Yeah, don't be. Yeah, that's going to get confusing a little bit. So don't be discouraged by that. Also, just look at what the story's called and go by that.
Sorry, that's me poking at Marvel again.
But I mean, even if you're going to go back and read old Marvel stuff, if you start at number 1, just realize it's not number 1. The rest doesn't matter for Marvel. It means number 1. There is stuff before that. They just renumber it. Numbering is very confusing. Try not to think about the number at the top of the comic. Just think about what the story is called.
Think about like the run, maybe.
Yeah.
Because usually an arc or multiple arcs even are a creative team. And if that creative team leaves, that's usually when a new arc starts.
Understand that also. Like when you read Detective Comics 968, James Tynion is the writer. James Tynion has not read 1,000 issues of Detective Comics. I mean, he's probably done a lot of research, but
probably on the internet. It's not because you read it.
Yeah. But that pressure DC gives them stuff. But understand, like, the writer doesn't know everything either. And I see a lot of times people online be like, well, actually, like in this issue, and then they'll be like, oh, I haven't read that yet. So, like, they haven't read everything, so you don't need to read everything. Just read their story. They're telling you a story, and like Gary said, every once in a while, you'll see a little box, and it might say editor's note, and that's just being like, hey, by the way, the editor's just trying to say this is kind of
this
important.
Is piquing your curiosity.
If you really want to know what happened, this is what issue it happened in.
I think the big takeaway is just read.
Yeah,
just start reading somewhere and keep reading it.
Yeah.
If you like the art, if you like the story, stick with it. Eventually, your confusion of what's going on will be somebody else's confusion later on.
I think the big thing for the three of us is that we have the three of us to talk to. So if there's a confusing thing for me, you might know, or he might know, or I might know.
You can go online. There's a lot of good communities online that talk about comics. Go on Twitter. Talk about comics. There's a lot of... The community is very great. Like, even if just doing the show, we've met a lot of people who are like, do their own kind of shows or like talking about comics, and they'll help you out. I've never met anybody who's into comics and you're trying to get into it that it'll be like, will shut you down and be like, oh no, I'm not going to tell you anything. Usually they're like, okay, here's some good stuff to read. Image comics, a lot of image comics, or you read something that you think maybe is not, like I said, not DC, Marvel. And there is actually a beginning. You probably have to go back to number 1.
But they make their trades very accessible.
That's what I was going to say.
Price accessibility, like their price is low. So, I mean, if you want to pay for it.
Let's talk about Floppy's monthly comics versus trades. If you are trying to get into image comics, I would say trades. Go into trades. Especially, there's this weird thing in comics, and this is something, if you're not into the collecting part of it, don't feel bad also. I'm not really into that. These guys are, but so there's two different sides to it. If you just want to read the stories, just get the trades. And a lot of those image comics number 1s are very hard to find. So I wouldn't kill your bank account looking for number 1.
Unless you're Alex.
Unless you're Pastrallo, looking for that saga number 1. Go find a trade. Like you said, Image, the first one, they make it cheaper. And then after that,
you do pay a little extra, but think again. They gave you a cheap.
Overall,
let's say by then though, you're either invested or you're not going to get it.
Usually, there's 5 to 6 issues within the trade. If you really think about it, you would have paid $18, but usually it's $15. So you save $3. It also is very easy to know what's the beginning because it'll be called Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just read it through. Every once in a while, they'll release a hardcover that's a deluxe, and it has usually more issues in it. Right. For instance, the Deadly Class one, I think the first book has 1 through 16. So you get a few trades in there.
I think the hardest thing for a new reader is understanding if you do go monthly with your books, how that schedule comes out. And the only thing I can tell you is go on previewsworld.com. That's your Bible to figuring out what comes out. I mean, I remember in my early days, you could go look at the printout list and be like, oh, so they tell you everything that comes out and you could remember that I'm getting this book. But Previews World, I mean, that's the official distributor of the comics. So understand, that was the most confusing thing for me when I started collecting comics, because you brought it up before. It's how do I fucking know
what's
coming out and when? Like, I never know if the second issue's ever going to come out.
DC does a nice thing on their YouTube page. If you subscribe to them, they every week release a video being like, here are the comics that come out this week. And they're just like, they show the covers being like, here's everything coming out this Wednesday. So you can also subscribe to them on YouTube and watch that video. You can, I would say any comic book shop would tell you. If you want to contact them, like, hey, is this book coming out this week? I guarantee you they would tell you. You can also, if you want to get a little bit more deep into it, set up a pull list. If you set up a pull list, you say, hey, I want to get Batman. I want to get Detective Comics. They'll pull the issues for you when they come out. And then you can just go on Previous World and be like, okay, did it come out this week? And if it did, they pulled it for you already. Go on there on Wednesday. It's probably in a box they set aside for you.
Yeah.
When you get into trades for superhero stuff, it gets a little confusing. I'll give it that. Now, so there's some things that are in continuity. And for those, I would see if you really want to, like I said, you probably could read any of them and just get what's going on. There are some things, though, that are considered non-canon. And I wouldn't worry too much if it's something's considered canon or not. But there are some things, if you're going to read it, just understand that like it's like a different kind of story. Superman Red Sun is like an Elseworlds tale. It doesn't actually take place in the main DC story. It's just a what if Superman landed in Russia instead of America. Batman the Dark Knight takes place in the future, but it's not really considered canon. Is that true? Right? That's not really considered canon.
It's more Millerverse.
It's more like what could happen in the future.
Right.
Whereas like something like Batman Year One, that actually wasn't a Detective Comics. It's called Batman Year One, but it actually was issues of Detective. That's self-contained. You can read that. That's fine.
Even though Dark Knight Returns is the technical sequel to Year One, but yeah, it's very loose.
Is it? I don't think so.
Yes, it is.
I didn't know that.
Frank Miller made Year One after he made Dark Knight Returns to reflect Dark Knight Returns.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
There's certain books also like Marvel has these season 1 books that are on their own. You can get those. DC has these Earth 1 books that are on their own. They're in a different universe. So, I mean, it might get confusing. Once again, Wikipedia, go online, just say, hey, type in the book, and it'll tell you. It usually will say, this Superman Red Sun is an Elseworlds tale. That means it's not in the main continuity. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter. You can read the story and be like, oh, this is good. Don't really think Pashala style and be like, where does this fit in, though? Like, where's Ben?
Yeah.
I mean, he can think about it because he can play. Once you get advanced enough, you'll be like, okay, you can start asking those questions. But don't bog yourself too much at the beginning, being like, how does this fit, though? Like, I understand where this is.
That'll never work.
Read the story.
Yeah. Read the synopsis. If it interests you, read it. If it doesn't, whatever. Because there's basically 75 to 80 years worth of history for most of these comic characters. A little less than some others, but you're never going to be able to exactly define the edges of each person's history. It's always going to be a little blurred.
Where can somebody legally find digital comics? Comixology.
Comixology is one. You can go to the big two. You can go DC or Marvel. You can buy them right off there.
They have their own apps. You can get those, but they run through Comixology anyway. So
Comixology. Amazon also bought Comixology, so you can go through.
Here's a little tip for you, and I'll let everybody else know that since that's true, Comixology and Amazon usually though don't have the same prices. If you go to Amazon, a lot of times it's cheaper. I've done it before where it's like $15 for this trade on Comixology. You go to Amazon, it's like 12 something for a digital copy.
Oh, geez.
So you buy it on Amazon. Amazon actually links it to your Comixology. You can read it on that app. So it's fine. I think there's Amazon is willing to take the hit on that. So
I will say also DC has like the season ones, but for free. They're their 101 video or 101 comics. So they have like a Batman 101, Superman 101, all these things that kind of give you a general history of each character. And those are free if you go on DC. If you're in the digital sphere and you want to kind of, study up on some of the history and kind of start defining your own lines in your mind, that's a good place to go.
For $10 a month or $69 a year, you can subscribe to Marvel Unlimited, which has most of Marvel's backlog. Also has comics as new as 6 months ago.
Yep.
So you're not going to get stuff that's coming out right now. But if you're not interested in that, you just want to read. If you went to go see Infinity Gauntlet, you're like, hey, I want to read that story. But also I want to read the follow-up to that story. All that and you don't feel like spending, like $40-$60 on that whole thing, you could pay for Marvel Unlimited for a month and probably read it.
Yeah.
So that's also a way to like try out stuff too if you want to get into it. DC and a lot of Image stuff is Comixology has Comixology Unlimited. Is also something you can subscribe to. I think it's $10 a month also.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm not sure how much is on there. I really don't use it. But also, if you have a library card, you can use Hoopla. And there's a lot of stuff on there you could try out.
Almost all of Images on there.
I'm pretty sure all of Images.
And Boom Studios has obviously an exclusive deal with them because they release issues that when they come out.
When they come out, they're on there. The only thing about that is that you get 7 titles per month, which is enough for me to try out things or read things. You could, but it's fine. Like I caught up on some series that I have around here somewhere, but I can't find. But I also caught up on a series we'll talk about it later, but there's a recommendation. Like there's some stuff that I read. Hey, I am going to catch up on there actually.
Bullshit. I don't believe you.
There's some stuff on there you can try. Like I wouldn't probably have picked up, but I tried on there and actually I really enjoy. Like, so go on Hoopla, you can do that too. Or your local library. Let's talk about print comics. If you want to try something in trade, you can go to the library. They have trades. Some libraries, you check your library with your library, but they actually have monthly comics too. They come out when they go buy them and you can rent them out. Or if you want to, you're thinking, hey, how do I find a comic book shop? There's comicbookstorelocator.com. Mm-hmm. You go in there, you type in your zip code, it says, hey, these comic book shops exist around you. It tells you the closest one.
Or go to Google and type in comic shop.
Either one's fine. I mean that comic book shop locator is an official Diamond sponsor.
True.
So
that's true.
They'll tell you the official
nearest one here.
And you can find your local comic book shop and go check it out. That's the thing also, and I think you talked about this a couple weeks ago. Don't be intimidated when you walk in. There's going to be a lot of stuff on the wall. There's a lot of stuff around. And you probably also feel like, I probably should know what's going on. I feel like I'm going to feel dumb not knowing anything. Just go in. I guarantee you, like I said, somebody's going to want to help you out and want to be like, oh, you should read this. I mean, I know we do.
Yeah.
But I've seen other people too help other people out.
Well, no, to be fair, I won't say the name of this place I've gone to. I've gone to one store where their workers, I really don't think could have given two shits. And the way it's set up drives me crazy because I don't know where to find anything in this.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't really think that's like a comic book shop. That's why. Like, be wary about that also. Like, if some places have comic books, but that's not their focus, I would find like a comic book shop that's like, that's in their name or like, that's what they do.
Well, this place actually is a defined, is it
in town?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's a something comics place. And in all honesty, I walk in, it's like, there's just a hodgepodge of shit. And it's hard to find what you're looking for. The workers there are doing their own thing, playing on Google or whatever it is. It's like, you make it that element as
if you do run into that, I wouldn't get discouraged also. A lot of the community, I would say 90% are really good.
Well, to be fair, those comic book people, they want to sell you on a book. They not necessarily push you to a book, but they want to help you find what you're looking for.
Well, they want to share what they experienced reading a book. Like if they had a book they really loved, I mean, they're going to recommend it because they want someone else to love it too.
I would say there's 10% of the community that act like gatekeepers. That are like you said, they're like kind of like, oh, you want to get into comics? Ignore them. They're like the 10% that like I don't really, maybe even smaller than that 5%. I've probably ran into it once. But other than that, no. Other than that, like when I when I first started wanting to get into comics, I would ask people. I would ask you. Like everybody was fine getting into it. Look, we've talked before. Like our first interaction was talking about comics, and that's why we became friends. I don't know what the first time. I don't know why you became friends with this guy, but
it's when you farted.
when I fart books.
If you're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Lincoln, Nebraska, I mean, we don't just call out their name on the show because we don't like them. Rainbow Comics and Cards, really good about like getting into comics, letting you know what's good. So, and their system,
it's my home. That's my comic home.
Their system is very easy to understand. They have signs that say new comics, old comics. They have dollar comics. So, if you're local,
I've been to some. If you're a fan of the show and you've seen me go places outside the state, there's some shitty ass filing systems for comics out there. So hopefully, like Rainbow, they have a dedicated staff keeping that place organized. I've been to other shops where I'm like,
where the fuck is
you're this fucking popular and you don't keep your shit together? But
yeah, so there's a lot of places to get comics. Just look around, like you said, Google. Mm-hmm. Say, hey, how to get comic books, and I guarantee you it's gonna That's only if you have your location on, though. So you can turn your location on and be like, hey, how do I find comic books? And they'll let you know.
Or you just type in your zip code.
Once a year, the first Saturday in May is free comic book day. That does not mean that everything is free. It means usually there's like a group of books that are free, but a lot of times comic book shops have sales. It's a good time to try new things. It's a good time to support whoever your local comic book shop is and get to know them, go in there. And that is like the prime time to go in if you're new. Because like that's a good time to get cheaper books, but also there's a lot of people there.
So it's a good way to meet people.
Like, pumped about getting their books, pumped about like sharing the love of comics. And that's, I mean, we've done that in line before to people that is, hey, I'm just with my friends here, but I'm kind of looking into this stuff and like, hey, you should get this, this, and this. And guess what? The next year we saw them there again. The next year we see them there again. And now they're like super into comics and recommending stuff for us to try. So like go and try it out. It's kind of like a
yearly checkup. It's like, I won't see you for a year, but when we get together, we just kind of like, we just take off right from where we left off. Yep. So that's kind of cool.
Also comic book conventions. If you have one local, go and check it out. And I guarantee you there's some people there who will want to help you out and show you what's good. Speaking of what's good, now we're once again, main rule, don't get intimidated. Second rule, just start.
Start issue one.
So just keep reading.
Don't wait for like doing a lot of research, being like, oh, I got to figure out the perfect place to jump on. The perfect place to jump on is whenever you feel like you want to read a comic. That's the perfect place.
And the best part is you can always go back. There's so much like behind you that you can go back and read. All it does is add to your current reading experience. It doesn't take away from it if you don't read it.
Yeah.
I'd say I personally got brought in at the right time when DC was getting ready to restart. So I was finishing out the pre-New 52 stuff. So when you did Flashpoint, that was a good time for me to jump on. But in all honesty, there is no wrong time to jump on.
I still got to say, whenever I run upon that Okay, I will tell you one thing. Never start on Superman Grounded. It'll bore you to death.
Well, let's talk about recommendations.
Okay.
So now you know you want to get into comics. You know where to find them. You know you have an idea. Okay, I could just jump into stuff. You're sharing it with people on Snapchat. And so you wonder, you didn't even hear me say.
I'm on Snapchat. That's what I'm saying.
You're wondering.
Talking to fans.
What do I read though? And that I would say you can do research for. That's fine. Mm-hmm. If you're like looking into what to read, we're going to give you some tips on some good stuff. First, we'll start with superhero stuff. So you're looking for something that's superhero based. Let's start with DC. DC Comics. Let's say you want to get into Aquaman. That New 52 series is pretty good. You can start there. Jeff Johns, right?
I like. They're pretty thick in the mythology when you start that issue 1, though.
Not really. Not
New 52.
Yeah.
If you're talking Rebirth, I'd say yeah. But New 52, oof.
I like New 52. Actually, that was my first time
Jeff
reading.
Johns wrote it.
That was my first time reading Aquaman month to month, and I didn't get confused. It was fine. But the Rebirth one is really good too.
Yeah.
So if you want to jump on there, if you go see that Justice League movie, you're like, I like this Aquaman guy.
Ryan a Parademon.
I have to admit that I do like Aquaman. I don't read enough of Aquaman.
Yeah.
Didn't you? In Justice League, he had arc 2, Throne of Atlantis. Was that good?
That was really good.
So you can go get
the
that
animated
too.
movie is really good too.
Yeah, if you like
BT
that's a nice way to get into it too. If you're watching those movies, a lot of times they're based on actual comic book stories. Go find it and you can read that. What about Batman? What would you recommend, Batman?
I think you mentioned a good one. Year One. I mean, if
Year One's good.
Year One is very simple Batman tale about why he does what he does. I mean, it's not very long. It's very short.
I have to admit it's a good book. Not for me personally. It's kind of a slow read because it really is a lot of mythology on just how he does what he does, why he's doing this.
That's true.
How he got started. This may be the wrong way to go. I think Long Halloween is a good start because I actually did give someone this as a Christmas gift. Going, this is a lot of my favorite part of Batman, detective work. But it's a good book to get you into who his rogues are, who he is as a character, how he does what he does.
And it really is a detective kind of story. So if you want the Batman that's really showing his detective side, Long Halloween's really good.
And if you want the better sequel that has a sidekick introduction,
you can read that. That's okay.
That's a good one to follow up. I agree.
It is. I mean, if on the grand scheme of Batman, it's up there.
I'm just saying that to get under the skin.
Top 15.
It's because he's wrong.
Batman Earth one is also very good. That's also, but that's kind of on
incredible.
That's its own kind of universe. Understand that it's Earth one. They have their own universe.
Those Earth one books are great. Superman Earth one is amazing, except for that third volume because they changed the artist.
I didn't read the third. 1 and 2 were great.
They changed the artist from Shane Davis to Adrian Sif for the third one, and I was kind of like,
that's too bad.
What the fuck? I'd rather you waited.
Hey, did you see the announced Flash Earth one? Or was it Green Lantern? Green Lantern Earth one.
Yeah, who's that written by? You told me the team.
I know.
Fucking good team.
You should look it up. Batman, going back to Batman, I would say also that if you want to ease into Batman, but you're not too sure about it, if you're kind of leaning towards non-superhero stuff, Gotham Central
Good one.
is very grounded about the police in Gotham City.
But it's got to be more of you're open to the fact that it's about Batman's world, but it's not necessarily about Batman.
Yes, he shows up, but he's not necessarily a main character.
Yep.
He's more like a side character in the book.
I think Hush is a good one for superb art. It does get a little bit more into stuff that has happened, stuff that you may need to do a little research, but for art-wise, it's a great book.
If you want to read something, once again, it's not in main DC continuity, Dark Knight Returns is classic.
That one is like so revolutionary. Like, I think
It was one of my first books I read.
yeah, same here.
yeah.
I think if you read that, that'll kind of give you a lot of drive to why Batman is as he is. And then when you go to a younger version of him, you're like, how does he get to this? Like, I know it's, again, you can't
Slice and
follow
dice, baby.
continuity
Slice and
rules,
dice.
but you know, you're seeing how this life affects Batman, and like Dark Knight Returns is a great. Holy shit, that book's good.
I would say if you read all that stuff and you think it's too pedestrian, you want to get into something that's like more long form, more a longer story that pays off more, go back and see Grant Morrison's run on Batman. It's going to be very confusing if you don't know a lot about Batman, but just roll with it. Like, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of references and stuff, and that is so subtle that like not everybody's getting it. So just read it for what it is, but it's great. Batman Incorporated, Batman and Robin,
dude.
Batman and Son, like where it starts, Batman R.I.P., all that stuff is good.
That first issue cover of Batman and Robin, fucking
Where they're
gold.
standing out in front of the car.
Yeah, for Green Lantern Earth 1, it's Gabriel Hardman and Carino Beccio.
Oh, that's right. I like them.
But yeah, that one. The for Batman and Robin, that cover.
Oh, okay. I thought,
Yeah. What about the Bat? Well, before we move on from the Batman, what about his family? Nightwing? Was that New 52 series good?
By Kyle
Yes,
Higgins?
yeah,
It was good.
It was really good.
It was good. Even the Grayson series,
Grayson,
which I realize
I would.
isn't Nightwing,
Tim Seeley,
but
Mikhail Janin.
You know, if you're really wanting a really good Bat family book that doesn't really focus on Batman, Cape and the Cowl. I know you need to understand the story that's going on. Basically, it's the entire Bat family fighting over Batman's cowl, like his to be Batman. I think that's a fun story.
It's called Battle of the Cowl.
Battle for
the
Cowl.
Cowl, yeah. That goes along with Morrison's run. I would say to read that if you're getting into that. Something that we'll talk about that later. Never mind. I was going to bring it up now because technically it's DC, but it'll fall better with the other stuff. Flash. I would say a good place to start is the Flash Rebirth with Jeff Johns.
Oh my God. One of the best graphic novels I've ever read.
Here's the thing. Well, there's going to be a lot of...
I don't know. I haven't read it.
There's
I
going to be
you borrow it. It's so fucking
There's
good.
going to be a lot of references, a lot of the past. Don't get confused because a lot of it is more of him trying to remind everybody and being like, and basically start a new path. So just read that, and then you can move on to The Flash by Jeff Johns and Francis Manapul, which is really great, amazing. And then later on, when it comes to New 52, then it's
Bucalato and
Francis Manapul starts writing it with Bucalato art. And Francis Manapul. He has colors. And that's pretty good too. And then the Flash Rebirth series, I think, has been pretty great. So you can start it there also if you want to. There's also a Mark Waid run, which is really good, and also a Grant Morrison. So go back and you can get those too. I think any of those you can jump in on. It's fine.
I have to admit, Flash is one of those characters that I've only gotten more into since New 52. That I don't have a lot of Flash related books.
I've known a lot of new readers are also really do like Flashpoint. So if you want to read that, that comes up a lot in media about like the TV show and the movie. They're making a movie out of it. If you want to start there, that's fine. But it's kind of
It might confuse you more.
It might confuse you. It's a little out there. But if you've seen the movie and you like the animated movie, I would say read it.
Yeah, because Man, with Flash Rebirth, it really does go into some heavy Flash mythology, but it's still enough that you can follow it.
If nothing else, it may spike your interest more in Flash.
Right. I think if you were to read Jeff Johns' run of the Flash coming into Brightest Day, that's his first time writing Barry Allen outside of Final Crisis and Rebirth. That's a good place to start too.
Hey, Garrett, you know more about this than I do. Green Arrow. What if somebody's a fan of Arrow? Where do they go? Green Arrow.
Okay. If you really want to tie in, if you're a huge fan of Arrow, the TV show, Green Arrow Year One by Andy Diggle. I can't remember who the artist is. Jock did the art. Fucking amazing. It's just really good. Obviously you're going to get your greens, but literally the whole thing takes place on that island. Not Lian Yu, that's kind of added for the TV show, but an island that he gets lost on. It's a similar plot device and whatnot. To be totally honest, this run of Rebirth with Green Arrow has also been fantastic. I mean, if you're getting the roots of who the character is, you could basically ignore all of his previous history and start with Rebirth, because it starts out its own pseudo history in Rebirth, him meeting Black Canary, but it's kind of pretending that they've never met before, things like that. It's kind of redoing his history, and it's so good. Plus you get Otto Schmidt's art, which again, that's not really something that you'll know yet. Creative people that you'll figure out over time. You'll figure out who they are, and you'll see what you like and don't like. But yeah, for Green Arrow Year One, definitely recommend. There's a lot of...
There's a Kevin Smith run.
Kevin Smith's run. Mike Grell, I guess that's more art.
Yeah, Longbow Hunters. Right?
Yeah, Longbow Hunters. So there's a lot of good Green Arrow stuff out there. He's not as mainstream as everybody else, like Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman, but I kind of like that when you get kind of those lesser...
Year One's a good place to start, though.
Yeah, Year One's so good.
You read Batman Cacophony, right?
Yes.
I believe that character Onomatopoeia is in the Kevin Smith run of Green Arrow.
Yeah,
oh, really?
He's on one of the covers.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So I know that's a tiny. I've been meaning to tell you that for when that series came out 4 years ago, and I always forget.
I'm still waiting for the third part of that, where it was Cacophony into Widening Gyre, and then there's the third one that...
I asked Walt when I was at the stash, and he said, it seems like Kevin Smith's schedule's too busy. He's like, yeah, I've been drawing, but we just haven't really been working on it that much. He's been super busy.
Dude, that dude is so busy.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith. He's doing a million things.
He's lost a shit ton of weight. Good for him.
On that run of Kevin Smith's Green Arrows by Phil Hester, also good art. Yeah. Also, speaking of Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Green Arrow by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. That's classic
Emerald
run.
Knights. Oh, yes.
Go and read that. Speaking of Green Lantern, Rebirth by Jeff Johns, Ethan Van Sciver.
Secret
Origins. I would read Rebirth first because it came first, and then read Secret Origins. So what the thing is that Green Lantern basically was in the dumps. It was totally ruined creatively wise. And Jeff Johns came and did Rebirth. Bring him back to who he used to be. Bring back this character. This is going to be confusing because there is also a Rebirth Green Lantern. This is the different thing. And then he did Secret Origins, was basically a year one.
You know what we didn't mention when we were talking about Superman? I guess we didn't even talk about Superman. Oh, that's coming up yet? Oh, okay. Just
he's doing alphabetical order.
So read that. The next thing is Sinestro Corps War is really great. And then Blackest Nights after that. That's the Jeff Johns run of Green Lantern. I believe there's something else after that, but I don't remember what it is.
Which one's No Fear?
That takes place before Secret Origins. Okay. So you have to read that too. Jeff Johns. Look for Jeff Johns Green Lantern. That's all I have to say. And then you get that. Green Lantern... Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps for Rebirth has been amazing. Get that.
Absolutely.
If you want to read something that's more current. Also, Green Lanterns by Sam Humphries has been great.
Yeah.
That is something that...
eye-opening.
They're brand new, so they're learning too. So it's not something that's continuity heavy. You can catch up in that. Omega Men. Did you like Omega Men?
Yes and no. I every time I talk about it, it's just, for me, it's the DC's version of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's this hodgepodge of people coming together to make a team. It's good. It's written by Tom King. At least the one I'd gotten was Tom King.
Yeah, it's by Tom King.
Okay.
Justice League. Was Jeff Johns' Justice League good? New 52?
I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, it was really good. Also, a great one, but this one would throw it over. Kingdom Come. Which
I was just about to mention Kingdom of Mark Waid and Alex Ross. Just understand also it takes place in an alternate future. Or not alternate, but it takes
oddly
place in
enough,
possible
I will
future.
recommend this too. Injustice. Like that's your good take on the Justice League. It's a lot of fun. If you want to throw out rules, that's the fucking book to go.
So you mentioned him, and he's a big player in Kingdom Come and Injustice. Superman.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend for Superman?
So many things. Secret Origin for sure, because that's like Jeff Johns does the retelling, just kind of like Green Lantern of Clark Kent's origins. Superman Birthright is a good place to start. Those Earth One novels is a good place.
Birthright, if you watched Man of Steel and you liked it, a lot of that comes from Birthright.
I don't think I could say All-Star. That's really heavy in his...
Oh,
I mean, you
I
could,
think-
but I don't think it's
All-Star's-
enough to start on.
If you read all these Superman things and you really like it, get All-Star
Yeah, then
Superman
All-Star,
on
when you're
top.
thick in
Make
it.
that the cherry.
Is Secret Identity? But I know
Secret
it's not, I know
Identity-
it's not Clark.
It's not Clark. That one is the most realistic.
That's like
telling
Gotham
of-
Central. If
yeah.
if you're getting into Superman, but you kind of want to also read something that's not really so superhero heavy, Secret Identity.
That book will make you fucking
That is,
cry.
yeah.
I want to see Marvin read that book again now, he'd fucking tear up.
Oh, yeah.
I did cry. When
I know
read
you
it.
did that one time.
What
What other Superman stories
he's
are
final
there?
for his
How
kids.
could I make Marvin cry?
Red Sun is
Red
another
Sun's
one of
good.
those Elseworld tales. That book made me cry at the end. Like it was fucking so powerful a story.
I've
There's
yet to read that one. That's one that I'd like to find.
so-
There's a
good.
Superman run with Jeff Johns and Richard Donner. It's really good.
Last Son of Krypton. Oh man.
Read that. If you want something that's more current, the new Superman book is really great.
Yeah.
Rebirth. You guys like Action Comics, right?
Action Comics has been good.
It's been pretty good.
Depends what you want. Superman's more about Superman and his family. Action Comics is more the
Mythology.
action pack kind of thing. So decide which part of Superman you like from reading those other stuff, and then move forward with that. You like the Supergirl book, that mini that came out, right?
Supergirl being super. It's very similar to like Secret Identity in nature. It's like its own secluded thing.
Yeah.
Um,
If you watch the TV show and you want to,
right.
Supergirl,
That one, yeah, definitely for that.
like you said, Kingdom Come, Superman's a big player in that, so you can get that also.
Is there any Shazam books?
No, that's kind of been the struggle is that Shazam hasn't had his own book. But I mean, you can pick up, I believe, a Shazam graphic novel because it takes all the ends of Justice League and puts them in one story. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's going to be very jumpy because it's 4 pages of book.
Teen Titans, which is something I'm really not that familiar with, but I know Jeff Johns wrote a Teen Titans run that was like 50 issues, so people talk highly about that run, so I would go find that if you're interested in Teen Titans. There's also a Young Justice series by Peter David that is the basis for that cartoon, so if you like that cartoon, go get that too. Wonder Woman.
Azrael run.
Azzarello Cliff Chang. It is the new 52 run. It was from issue 1 to 35 and also had Secret Origins number 6. That is a great run. It's very mythology heavy though, so like, but it tells you in the story. You don't have to know anything, Pat. Like it tells you like they actually rewrite some of the history. So don't go into it being like, what's all this stuff I don't understand it. Half of it is brand new and it's going to clear up by the time you're done with it. So I would recommend that. I do have I think I read Wonder Woman. I read the new Rebirth back to back and it was good still. Greg Rucka. So if you're going to read it in trades, I would recommend reading it like that or read it back to back. There's an old George Perez Wonder Woman. Go and get that. That's good too. And there's also that Wonder Woman Earth 1, Grant Morrison. It's okay.
I haven't. You read that, right?
But it's like something you could just read on its own. It's standalone. So
I just don't like Yannick Paquette's art. Ugh.
it's a little out of place. But I mean, if you're looking to get a Wonder Woman, also the last couple issues of this arc have been actually pretty new reader friendly. So if you want to jump on, what did it start? 26? Issue 26. And there's been 4, right? So go and get 26 through 30 if you go to your comic book shop or find somewhere new and get those. You can start at that. That's fine. Why don't we go to Marvel real quick and give some recommendations there? Right? There's nothing else really, DC.
No, it's probably about at least the big ones I think people would get into.
Yeah, I mean, from there you can branch out and you can learn about your Blue Beetles, Booster Gold. But like, I think to start, don't get overwhelmed and try to get too deep. Just dip your
Start
toes
with
into
the character.
the main ones.
Yeah.
Oh, Trinity by Francis Manapul. Go get that too. except for the last few issues.
The ones that aren't by him don't get.
Avengers Ultimates by Mark Miller is pretty good. That's actually more in line with the movies. There's some characterizations that are a little off, so I don't know if I would start there, but you could read it and just know that it's alternate universe. But there's a Kurt Busiek and George Perez. I think that no, that's Steve Eagleman. Never mind. By Avengers, that's pretty good. Read Infinity Gauntlet, which is a lot of the movie's coming out. I know you're probably interested in it anyway, so that's really good. That's George Perez also, not for the whole thing, but some part of it.
Hickman?
If you really want to get into a long form story, Avengers and also the series New Avengers by Jonathan Hickman.
You think that's new reader?
I don't think that's new reader
That's
friendly.
way too thick.
I mean, you can start there. I mean, it's standalone.
It is.
But you would it's when I talk long form,
that's some dedication
you're talking
right
about
there.
like 60 issues.
Yeah.
So like
it's 43 for Avengers, 33, almost 80 issues if you're doing Infinity.
yeah, so like understand that when you're going into it. I mean, there's certain payoffs, but you're going into it to get that.
One series I will throw out there, the Avengers Assemble series they did a couple years back. That was based off like the movie Avengers. It was not based off like
Oh, really?
comic Avengers. So
Black Widow, Mark Waid and
Samney run?
Chris Samney run it's like a 12 issue, right?
Yep.
Yeah, mini. That was pretty great. It was pretty amazing. So go find that and get it. Now here comes my boy, Mr. Captain America. If you want to get to Captain America, if you saw that movie, you see any of these movies, you want to get into it. If you saw Winter Soldier, Ed Brubaker, Steve Epting, go and get that. You can read that on its own. That's fine. There is a great run. Go looking for Ed Brubaker, Captain America. Any of that is great. So anything with Ed Brubaker, go get that, and it's great. Mark Waid also wrote right before that. That's good also. Ron Garney did some art. Our boy.
What else was the other Cap story? Dimension Z by Rick Remender.
I'd say the first,
good, yeah.
the first, not 19, like
Right.
14, 15 issues were pretty good. Then he got onto I think he drifted away from doing what was good. That's my own thought.
I was looking over there being like, oh, what Captains? I have like all of Ed Brubaker's. That's all I have.
So that's the thing is you talk about Captain, and there's not a lot of Captain books that come to mind going, oh, that's a good book.
Man
that's
at a
just
time,
a Captain.
Yeah, Operation Rebirth. There's some stuff.
It's usually
but
Avengers
it's like,
related stuff.
Yeah. If you get Marvel Unlimited, you can really dig it deep. Civil War, he's a big player in Civil War. If you saw that movie, it's a good starter comic, I think. It's not really like I wouldn't put it in like top 20, I don't think, in terms of like my favorite comics, but like I know I started with it, you started with it. It's a good thing, primer, especially if you only watch the movies, to be like, oh, I understand who all these people are. Yep. It's action packed enough that you can fly through it and be like, okay, I want some more.
Makes you hate Iron Man.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get to Iron Man by Matt Fraction is pretty great. You will get that. You didn't like it. Oh no.
No, I read it. I thought it was fine.
Oh, okay.
You know what else
good.
Matt Fraction wrote really well? Hawkeye
by Matt Fraction is pretty good. You want to get into that?
Daredevil, obviously, Wade and Samney.
Yep.
Their entire
Riviera.
run.
Yeah. Ed Brubaker right before him too, so that was great. Not right before him. Andy Diggle did a run, but don't get that one. Ed Brubaker, Michael Lark did a run. Brian Michael Bendis, Alex Maleev, Frank Miller, John Romita Jr. That's the Man Without Fear. Born Again also. Mark Waid's run. Deadpool. You like Deadpool? That Jerry Dugan run was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Look for Jerry Dugan and Brian Posehn's run. That was pretty good. I actually read that too. It was pretty good. You like those Deadpool by Joe Kelly? You ever read?
I don't think I've read that. I had read Daniel Way.
That's right.
I read most of that run.
Here's the thing you can actually get into. Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. Go and get that. It's pretty great. There's also a Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom book, Triumph and Torment, that's on Marvel Unlimited. It's very hard to find anywhere else. Like, it's seriously, I think it's like out of print or something. But it's on Marvel Unlimited. If you want to read that, it's actually pretty good. It's like 4 issues, I think. I read it. Doctor Strange. Like I said, Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom. Go read that. The Oath by Brian K. Vaughan.
Oh, that's so fucking good.
Marcus Martin.
Don't know. Haven't read it yet.
Oh, yeah, I thought you read it.
You bought it to Unlimited?
Did you buy it too?
No, I haven't bought it yet.
Oh, I thought you bought the issues.
No, I've been waiting to buy it.
Marvel also does some good. Their original runs are actually pretty good. So if you want to get those, some like DC is like way too old. Marvel started like in the 60s, so like it's still like if you read I read an old Doctor Strange and it was fine reading it. Speaking of which, Fantastic Four by Stanley and Jack Kirby, you can read those. It's fine. Mark Waid also did a run. You know who did a run? Also Mark Miller, which some people don't like, but actually I think it's fine. FF by Matt Fraction, that was pretty a fun book too. I didn't read it, but I heard people said it was good. I think Corey. No, he didn't. Never mind.
No, he read FF.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was the
Your
one.
Foundation.
Hulk. Incredible Hulk: The End by Peter
Hulk,
David.
The End,
I have that over there.
Great. Planet Hulk.
Planet Hulk is also pretty great. There is... It's over there. I have it over there. Incredible Hulk's Visionaries, Peter David. It's a volume 1. That's also pretty great. So you want to get
Jason
that.
Aaron's run on The Incredible Hulk was awesome.
Did you like Mark Waid's run in Indestructible Hulk?
Not really.
It was interesting, but like I think it's all over the place.
Hulk. There's a lot of good Hulk stuff out there though. So Peter David, if you see that name on Hulk, I would get it. Alex, Immortal Iron Fist by Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, David Aja. You've been reading through that?
Say it one more time.
Immortal Iron Fist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Who the hell?
Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, David
Yeah.
Aja.
You said all these names. I thought, what the hell?
That's pretty great.
I've read the first 7, and it's been good.
The next few are by Travel Foreman and Dwayne Sarinsky. Let's see here. Jessica Jones, Alias.
Oh, I mean, if you watch the Netflix show, Alias is basically panel for
Ryan
panel,
Michael
same
Bendis,
thing.
Michael Gatos. If you want to get that. That is what they considered Max, right?
Max. Alias was Max. Now they have a current Jessica Jones book that's literally the sequel to Alias, but same
Dialed
team.
down. But it's dialed down, isn't
I mean,
it?
it's not as intense.
Yeah.
It still says parental advisory on it. But.
If you like Nick Fury, but not understand that he's different in the comics, Fury Max by Garth Ennis is pretty great. It's very Max also, though. It's like very mature. Or you can get Secret Warriors Volume 1. It's pretty great. Jonathan Hickman, one of his first things he wrote for Marvel. I have the whole run, and it is pretty amazing. And started my love for Mr. Hickman himself. Punisher. Rick Remender's run was pretty great. Yeah. Not Rick Remender.
No,
Greg
Rucka.
Greg Rucka's
was
run.
good.
Rick Remender's run is good, but I mean, we read Greg Rucka's run together. Not together in the same room.
Of course.
But
Of course. Hell dance.
there's also Garth Ennis run for a while, Born. Welcome Back. Go and get those. He also wrote with Steve Dillon for a while. Spider-Man, where's guest host number 1?
But Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ultimate Spider-Man
So
is amazing from beginning to end.
Technically, yeah.
Get the whole thing. Yeah. When it ends, Marvel, that's part of the Ultimate Universe, obviously, so it's a little different. If you want to get into Spider-Man himself, Spider-Man Blue is pretty good.
Yeah.
Kraven's Last Hunt.
The whole Gauntlet run is great.
Corey loves the Death of Gwen Stacy. He loves early Spider-Man a lot too, and Todd McFarlane's run. He's talked about it, he's loved too. So a lot of good Spider-Man out there. Dan Slott's run is it's pretty good. I mean, it's started good. It's kind of now getting too much,
Yeah.
but big time. I remember liking that. Gauntlet, you said it was good. So there was a time right around that time is really good Spider-Man. So go get that. Thor. Ultimate Thor with Jonathan Hickman's pretty great. God of Thunder by Jason Aaron is amazing.
That's so good. Slot Rubik.
Go and get that. There is Journey into Mystery by Karen Gillan, which is about Loki. So if you like Loki from those movies, and you want to get into Loki, that's great. You can read that also. I'm going to skip past some of these. Thor, just look for, obviously, Stan Lee's early stuff too. It's good too. Walter Simonson. You talked about him on the show before too. X-Men. Uncanny X-Force. Did you ever read that, Rick Remender?
I read the first issue, but
okay.
I've heard it. I've heard it's good, but I've also heard it's kind of after. Who's the artist on that book? The first couple issues.
He also did Avengers. What's his name? I'll think about it in a second. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yeah.
Is that Rubik?
Sad Rubik. That's pretty good. Also,
I've heard after he gets off it kind of loses its.
I'll say Chris Claremont. That's a good thing too. Young Avengers. There was Karen Gillan run with Jamie McKelvey. That was pretty great. I love that. There's also a couple before that by Alan Heinberg. That was pretty great. Jim Chung. Let's talk about, so those are like, find what character you like from those other things and go out there and say, type into Google, like Garrett said, top 5 Batman stories. You'll find them.
Yeah.
And go and start there. Don't worry about like, hey, where's this take place at? Like, what's going on? No.
Read synopsis. If it interests you, get it.
If you're going to try to get into something that's non-superhero, let's start first with like, let's say science fiction books. Black Science by Rick Remender is pretty great.
Tokyo Ghost by Rick Remender.
Tokyo Ghost by Rick Remender is pretty great. Descender.
That's it.
You wouldn't know though.
What'd you say?
That's it. Saga would be a good choice.
Saga by Brian K. Vaughan. Descender is by Jeff Lemire. You can get into that. What else do I have?
Horror? Are you still on science fiction?
Science fiction. I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I'm trying to think of stuff that's like not too, those are easy to get into. Horror books. Hellblazer is pretty good. I have that over there.
Witches.
You want to get to Constantine? Witches is pretty great. Lock and Key is amazing. That's already done. You can get that whole thing. One of my favorite series of all time.
That's Joe Kelly, isn't it?
No.
It was Joe Kelly. I wouldn't read
Joe
it.
Hill.
Joe Hill. Oh, bad name.
Joe Kelly sucks.
If you want to get into...
It's like who read Spider-Man Deadpool? Or did.
If you've seen Hellboy, you want to get into Hellboy. Hellboy is a good place. Alex, if you want to get the library editions, if you really want to invest, it's not that much, $20.
It's like $30, I think, and they're big, big size books. They're wrapped in like a cloth covering. Oh, so good.
Nice, you can get that too. Let's say action books, Deadly Class.
Yeah, that's about right.
Deadly Class. Get into Deadly Class. And Deadly Class. I can't really think of anything else. What else we got over here?
I said the sad thing is we get a lot of books that I'm running dry on.
Let's say crime books, criminal. Yeah, no. Now we're getting
Fix.
to like the
Kill or Be Killed.
Fix is a good humor
Horror
book.
book.
Humor crime book.
Crime book. Humor book. We're gonna get to that. Let's see what else we got over here.
I
have a list, but I feel like reading all the lists is taking forever. So that's why I'm not looking at this.
You know what is a good book is I Hate Fairyland.
I Hate Fairyland's a funny book.
Good art. It's a funny book. Hopefully you have no ties to anything Fable related. And speaking of which, Fables. Holy shit, amazing book.
2 books that are really, if you want to get something that's more grounded, Jeff Lemire's Royal City just started. You can get to that. That's pretty great. If you want, there's a book called Giant Days, which is actually pretty funny. It's about these 3 girls in college. That's something I read in Hoopla that actually I discovered, and I really like it. It's really good. And like I said, that's just about them in college. It's not really anything else. What else we got over here?
I think that's quite a bit.
Day Tripper.
I haven't read that yet.
Get that and cry, and let me know how you feel.
Astro City.
There's a lot of the main thing.
Speaking of, I'm reading
Astro
Confessions.
City. Holy Jesus,
It's fucking good.
Watchmen.
Astro
Which I
City.
realize is more DC, but
Yeah.
Astro City is a good thing if you're like, I want to get superheroes, but I don't want to be bogged down with continuity. Astro City. There you go.
Cowl's a good one.
Cal's good.
And obviously I think Watchmen, get a little bit into comics first, then read Watchmen.
Yeah.
Horror book wise, I actually would say for the fact that you and I at least are a little afraid of being underwater. Department H.
Department H. I kind of want to see where it's going. It's been good so far, but
It's starting to spin its wheels just a little bit.
the main thing to understand about getting into new comic books, right, is don't be scared. You can, if you get confused, hey, everybody's confused.
At some point or another.
If you have any questions for us, email us and we'll
Email
answer
us
for you.
at WednesdayComics605@gmail.com. Thank you for the segue. Or find us on Twitter at Wednesday Comics. Let us know what you want to get into, and hey, we'll give you more recommendations. Or find us on individually if you want to talk to at Garot2188, Alex Pastrello, Alex Pastrello, or at Pastrami_news, and find me at Marvin_news on Twitter. Facebook.com/Wednesday Comics Podcast. If you're in Facebook, let us drop us a line. We'll help you out. Send us a message if you want some recommendations. Leave us a voicemail, 605-215-1849. That is the number. Leave us a voicemail if you're interested in something, and we'll play in the show. We'll answer your question. If you just want to leave a comment, that usually is at the end of the show. Stick around for that and see if anybody left the voicemail. Visit us at WednesdayComics.com. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell your neighbor. iTunes, go to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Google Play, Stitcher Radio. Thank you for everybody who left us a review on iTunes. Good job. Also, remember to visit rootsoftheswampthing.com, our sponsor, and rainbowcomicsandcards.com, and visit them if you're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Lincoln, Nebraska. They'll help you get into comics. I guarantee it. I
just want to say one reminder: read Umbrella Academy. We'll be talking about.
Oh
it on
yes,
October 5th.
I keep forgetting. October 5th is the end of the quarter. We're going to be talking about the Wednesday Comics Book Club for Extraordinary Gentle People.
Whoa! Thanks.
I was seeing that on Twitter because I did tweet out that's what it's called.
I didn't even. Fuck! You didn't tag me. Not enough room.
Not enough room. Yeah, there wasn't enough room. It's a long ass name. I had to cut down that tweet to get it in there.
That's another special moment between me and Marvin.
But,
right there, two compliments in one night.
I'm gonna savor that for you.
But the book club, we'll be talking about that. Please send in your voicemails, emails, tweets, whatever, how you want to talk to us. If you've read Umbrella Academy Volume 1, which is also a good place to start, hey, start with us. We'll get you into it. We'll get you into comics. And we're going to talk about it on the show. We're going to go over the book. We'll talk about it's coming to Netflix. We'll talk about the whole thing. And we'll get into UA V1.
Nice.
For Wednesday Comics, I've been the Midnight King, Marvin.
All right. I have been Alex.
I got nothing clever. I'm Garrett.
Hey, everyone. Keep turning those pages.